Welcome back, friends. We have finished, I have this other sock that I have finished to kind of show you where we're at on our sock. So we have finished the heel flap, which is this part here, and also the heel cap, which is the bottom part or turning the heel. We have done that. So in this video, we're going to talk about picking up stitches along the side here. So you can see, if you look closely, the stitches are going up and down this way on the heel flap, and then they're going to start going sideways as we start the gusset. I'll show our handy dandy photo here that we've been working from. We're starting the gusset portion at this point, picking up stitches along the side here, and so that we can continue to start knitting down this way. So that's where we're going. Let's get started. We have finished with a knit row all the way down to the end here. And then we are going to be picking up and knitting stitches along the side up the heel flap. Now, the reason that we did a slip stitch at the beginning of every row is that now we have nicely formed end stitches here that are a little bit, a little bit bigger. We can kind of start to see loops. Let me see if I can grabbing your tapestry needle just so that I can show you. And if it sounds like I'm talking through tonsils the size of grapes, it's because I am talking through tonsils the size of grapes. My whole family has come down with a bug. So anyway, along the side here, I'm gonna do the best I can to show you. There are loops under here. On the end of every row, there are loops. This is where we're going to go into to be picking up our stitches. We have, in my case, I've knitted, I did knit 20 rows of heel flap, because back at my sock number of 40, on my heel flap, I did half the number of my sock number. So you will have maybe 40, you may have a different number, but half that. So in my case, 20, that's how many rows I did. So because I slipped at the beginning of every row, I should have 10 or 1/4 of my sock number stitches to pick up along the side here. And then I'm also going, in order to minimize a hole that often can come right at the corner here, I'm going to pick up 1 more. So I'm going to do 10 along the side, 1 more, so it'll be 11. If you have a different sock number, you might have a different number to pick up along the side, but it will be 1/4 of your sock number, or 1/2 of the number of rows you knitted on your heel flap. Okay, so now I'm going to be picking up 10. My left-hand needle is just gonna hang out over here. I'm not gonna use it for now. I'm going to hold my sock flap kind of as if it were a needle, so that I can control it better with my left hand. I'm going to bring my stitches kind of toward the front here, so I have room to move with my my working needle, my working yarn over here. Going to go into this hole, and you'll see I have two threads of yarn on the top here. So if I wanted to show you this too. If I flip this over just a little bit so I can really see the edge, we can see that there's 2 strands of yarn buddying up here that are making loops over the next one. So I'm going to be going under both of those. So, and then I'm just going to knit a stitch as if these were all on a needle. That's how I see it in my mind anyway. All of these are on a needle. in my left hand, so I'm just knitting a stitch. So there, I've picked up and knit one stitch, so I'm going to go to the next one. Going under both of those strands of yarn and just knitting it like a regular stitch. So I've done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 in the corner here so that I don't get a hole in the corner. All right, so I am going to have more than 11 stitches on my needle because I still had a few left over from when I did the heel, turned the heel flap. I'm going to pull my magic loop through. So now these are all of the stitches that we didn't do anything with since we started the heel flap. So these should be half of your sock number. For my sock number was 40, so I should have 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. I'm just going to knit evenly across these stitches. Nothing special here. Just straight up knitting. All right, so I got that done. I'm gonna turn my knitting again, pull my magic loop through. I'm not gonna go all the way through because again, this needle is kind of gonna hang out while I pick up the stitches on the other side of my heel flap. So again, in my case, I had 10 rows of heel flap plus 1 more for the corner, so I don't get a hole there. That's how many I'm going to knit this time. Again, I am going to pull this through though, so that I don't end up with extra stitches on this side. I want to keep this to 20 in my case, or half of your sock number. All right, so I have my 1 stitch in the corner, since we're kind of going to be doing this backwards now because we're on the other side of the heel flap, and then 10, picking up and knitting 10. So again, we can see here, if I can make this stay for a second, I've got, this is where we're going in. So you can see it's right on the end of, it's really one leg of a stitch from the end of your row. And then there will be kind of behind it, there's 2 strands of knitting, or of yarn there. So that's where we're going in on all of these stitches. So I'm looking for 10 of those. I'm gonna give this a little tug. We want to try to not get we don't want that to be too loose. It'll cause problems later. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope that's not too much in the way. We can still see what we're doing. 8, 9, and 10. If we get to the end here and, say I'd only gotten to 9 and I was at the end, then somewhere along the line I've missed one. So the good news about when you're pulling these, or when you're, this is called pick up and knit, when you're pick up and knitting stitches along the side here, you can just pull your needle out and undo it. I've had to do this multiple times on multiple socks, and it can get kind of frustrating when you are like, where did I not get one? Or if you've got too many, that's the other option. If you had too many, then we've put a stitch in somewhere where it shouldn't be. The point is we're trying to get that number of stitches, in my case 11, which is 1/4 of my sock number plus 1, as evenly distributed along the side of here as possible. If we can't make it exactly perfect, that's one of the joys of knitting, is most of the time you don't have to have it exactly perfect, especially on a sock. It's going to stretch, go around your foot. It's squishy. Okay, so then we're going to continue knitting. Now you're going to have a whole bunch more stitches on this side of your knitting than on this side of your knitting. And we are going to work through that in the next video, which is more of the gusset part of the sock. And we will be decreasing stitches along the side that has the most stitches, and then not decreasing over here. We'll go over that in detail in the next video, but just so you can kind of know where we're going, that's where we're headed. So we're going to go ahead and knit across all of these stitches. And then I'm going to try to finagle this a little bit so you can see how we're starting to look more and more like a sock, which is encouraging, especially when you're knitting your first sock and it doesn't really look much like a sock yet. And you're like, am I even doing this right? This is one of the cool things about Magic Loop, is we can kind of make things there we go. We're starting to look like a sock. We can see where I've done my heel turn, looking like a heel down there. All right, I'll see you in the next video. We're going to work on the gusset portion and get our stitches back down to our sock number.